Assembly of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. China and Venezuela are good partners that seek mutual trust and common development. The two nations enjoy an ironclad friendship. China and Venezuela elevated their ties to an all-weather strategic partnership in 2023. Both sides maintain frequent exchanges at all levels and have witnessed a growing trade volume. Next is the acting president of the Republic of the Union of Myanmar, Min Aung Hlaing. China and Myanmar enjoy long-standing friendship. The two countries established diplomatic ties on June 8, 1950, and this year marks the 75th anniversary. The two countries have steadily advanced their friendly relations. They are actively building the China-Myanmar community with a shared future. During World War II, Chinese expeditionary forces fought Japanese aggressors in Myanmar, then known as Burma. They safeguarded the passage to southwestern China and supported the people of Myanmar in their fight for independence.
And next is Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of Korea, Woo Won-sik, and his wife. China and South Korea are neighbors and cooperative partners. The two countries established diplomatic ties in 1992 and elevated relations to a strategic cooperative partnership in 2008. China is the largest trading partner of South Korea. South Korea is the second largest trading partner of China. The two countries have 228 pairs of sister provinces and cities. The Chinese people fought side by side with the Koreans to resist Japanese aggression and colonialism. The old site of the Provisional Government of the Republic of Korea has been preserved in China.
Next is the President of the Republic of Maldives, Mohamed Muizzu. The president made his first state visit to China in January 2024 and was the first foreign leader to visit China that year. The two heads of state upgraded their relations to a comprehensive strategic cooperative partnership. Trade cooperation between the Maldives and China began in 1981. Since then, they have maintained good momentum, with tourism a significant part. Chinese tourists comprise the biggest share of Maldives' international tourism. They have expanded exchanges and cooperation in key sectors such as education, culture, and health. Now, Prime Minister of the Republic of Armenia, Nikol Pashinyan. Also accompanying him is his wife. China and Armenia have maintained healthy and stable momentum in bilateral ties since establishing diplomatic relations in 1992. Their ties were upgraded to a strategic partnership on August 31st, when Chinese President Xi met with Prime Minister Pashinyan in Tianjin. In 2024, bilateral trade rose 15% to $1.8 billion. In January 2020, their mutual free visa policy took effect. The two nations enhanced their connectivity by launching their first direct civilian flights in September 2024.
Walking on the red carpet right now is the Prime Minister of the Slovak Republic, Robert Fico. In 2024, he paid a visit to China as the two sides celebrated the 75th anniversary of diplomatic ties. And during that visit, China and Slovakia elevated their relations to a strategic partnership. China and Slovakia have maintained a positive momentum in the development of their relations and steadily expanded their cooperation in various fields. Slovakia was a guest of honor in the 4th China Central and Eastern European Countries Expo in Zhejiang Province this May. And as the Second World War dragged on, the Slovaks launched a resistance movement against Nazi Germany. With unremitting courage and determination, the Slovakian people contributed to victory in the World Anti-Fascist War.
If you're just joining us here on CGTN, you're looking at live pictures of the Duanmen Gate near Tiananmen rostrum, where international dignitaries have been arriving. We've been tracking the arrival of heads of state and government for you right here on CGTN. And the motorcades keep pulling up. International dignitaries are arriving at the red carpet rolled out in their honor.
And some of the guests attending today's commemoration previously attended the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Tianjin, which just concluded in the northern port city. And in that summit, the leaders jointly issued the Tianjin Declaration.
Now comes the president of Mongolia, Ukhna Hurosa, and his wife. China's land border with Mongolia is the longest at 4,710 kilometers. The two countries have been deepening mutually beneficial cooperation over the past 70 years since they established bilateral ties. They have achieved a rapid development and significant outcomes in relations in more than 2 decades. China has been Mongolia's largest trading partner and investor. Bilateral trade reached over $18 billion in 2024, 10% higher than the previous year.
And this is the president of Turkmenistan, Serdar Berdimuhamedov. In 2023, China and Turkmenistan established a comprehensive strategic partnership and announced that they will build a community with a shared future at a bilateral level. Trade volume has reached nearly $5 billion in the first half of this year. China and Turkmenistan have jointly built 3 gas pipelines connecting China and Central Asia. Cultural exchanges between these two countries are frequent. The Chinese language is taught in elementary and middle schools in Turkmenistan.
On the red carpet now, our first Secretary of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Cuba and President of the Republic of Cuba, Miguel Diaz-Canel, and his wife. Cuba was the first country in Latin America to establish diplomatic ties with the People's Republic of China. This year marks their 65th anniversary. In the past 65 years, China and Cuba have always trusted and supported each other, setting an example for unity and cooperation between socialist countries and mutual assistance with sincerity among developing countries. In World War II, Cuba provided military support and supplies to the Allied forces.
Now on the red carpet is President of the Kyrgyz Republic, Sadir Japarov. China and Kyrgyzstan are connected by mountains and rivers, and the two peoples are connected heart to heart. Their relations have seen great development in recent years. In 2023, the two countries established a new era all-round strategic partnership and announced the building of a China-Kyrgyzstan community with a shared future of good neighborliness and shared prosperity. China is Kyrgyzstan's largest trading partner. Bilateral trade in the first half of this year has increased by 53% from a year ago to over $14 billion. You're watching live pictures now from the Duanmen Gate, where international guests are arriving for a welcome ceremony here. And now we are seeing pictures of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, and his wife. President Aliyev has visited China several times. China-Azerbaijan ties have been close despite the long distance and have strengthened in recent years. The two countries have had close, high-level communications in recent years. This April, the two heads of state announced a comprehensive strategic partnership between China and Azerbaijan. And on the red carpet now are Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim, and his wife. China and Malaysia have long-standing friendships. And of course, this friendship is born out of their long history, cultivated by cultural integration, strengthened in mutually beneficial cooperation, and forged in difficult times. In April, they agreed to build a high-level strategic China-Malaysia community with a shared future. During World War II, overseas Chinese in Malaysia launched a fundraising campaign for China's war of resistance against Japanese aggression. Over 1,000 non-young volunteer mechanics and drivers sacrificed their lives while transporting military supplies on the Yunnan-Burma highway to the front lines in China.
Now you're looking at live pictures at the Duanmen Gate, where international dignitaries are continuing to arrive for a red carpet that's rolled out in their honor. The Duanmen Gate is just north of the Tiananmen rostrum. On the red carpet now is Tonglun Sisilith, General Secretary of the Lao People's Revolutionary Party Central Committee and the President of the Lao People's Democratic Republic. China and Laos have a long history of friendship. They're good neighbors and comrades. They have deepened exchanges and cooperation in fields such as politics, economy, military, and culture and health. They also coordinate and cooperate closely in regional and international affairs. Bilateral trade cooperation has expanded in recent years. China is Laos's biggest investor, second exporter, and second largest trading partner. The China-Laos Railway has earned the name of the Golden Passage due to record volume of passengers and freight.
We're watching live pictures from the heart of Beijing, from inside the Forbidden City, the Duanmen Gate, where the red carpet is rolled out for international dignitaries attending the commemoration to mark the 80th anniversary of China's victory in the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression, as well as the World Anti-Fascist War.
Heads of state and government are continuing to arrive at Duanmen Gate. This is just north of the Tiananmen rostrum. It's a short walk to the Tiananmen rostrum.
China held another commemoration to mark its V-Day 10 years ago in 2015, and it was in that commemoration that heads of state as well as leaders from international organizations also attended. And this is certainly a show of solidarity. And we're moments away now from the commemoration. It's going to begin in less than an hour.
And now the next guest has arrived. The President of the Republic of Serbia, Aleksandar Vučić, and his wife. President Vučić has always promoted China-Serbia cooperation and exchanges. The two nations are advancing the high-quality development of a China-Serbia community with a shared future. They are ironclad friends who help each other in hard times. 80 years ago, people from the two nations significantly contributed to the victory of the anti-fascist war in the battlefields of Asia and Europe. China and Serbia have trusted and supported each other for a long time.
On the red carpet now is President of the Republic of Kyrgyzstan, Emomali Rahman. President Rahman is an old friend of China and the Chinese people. He's been to the country more than 20 times. China-Tajikistan relations are at their best with frequent high-level exchanges. Last year, the two countries announced a comprehensive strategic partnership. And from this higher starting point, they will build a China-Tajikistan community with a shared future. Prime Minister of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, Shehbaz Sharif. Pakistan was one of the first countries to recognize the People's Republic of China. The two are ironclad friends and all-weather strategic cooperative partners. They are deepening their strategic mutual trust and practical engagement. And China has been Pakistan's largest trading partner since 2014. China is also the largest foreign investor in Pakistan.
Next, the President of the Republic of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko. This is Lukashenko's 16th visit to China. China and Belarus have treated each other with sincerity and trust. As all-weather, comprehensive strategic partners, the two have maintained close, high-level exchanges and achieved milestones in their expanded bilateral cooperation. On May the 9th, the Chinese PLA Guard of Honor attended the military parade in the Belarusian capital of Minsk to commemorate the victory of the former Soviet Union's Great Patriotic War.
President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Emmerson Mnangagwa. In 2024, President Mnangagwa made a state visit to China and attended the China-Africa Cooperation Forum Summit in Beijing. He did his military training in China in the 1960s and had a deep bond with the Chinese People's Liberation Army. The two countries and the two parties share similar thoughts.
Now, President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Masoud Pezeshkian, and his daughter, Zahra Pezeshkian. China and Iran have a long-standing friendship. In their 54 years of diplomatic ties, their relations have always been stable and healthy. In 2016, Chinese President Xi Jinping made a state visit to Iran. The two countries established a comprehensive strategic partnership. Next is the President of the Republic of the Congo, Denis Sassou Nguesso. Among African leaders, he is one of those who has made the most visits to China and met with Chinese President Xi Jinping. The two heads of state have a deep friendship. The Republic of the Congo is China's ironclad friend. Bilateral ties were upgraded to a comprehensive strategic cooperative partnership in 2016. The two countries marked the 60th anniversary of diplomatic ties last year, when President Sassou was in Beijing for a state visit in the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation Summit. Next, the King of Cambodia, Norodom Sihamoni. China and Cambodia have enjoyed long-standing friendship. The two peoples have interacted for their mutual benefit. This April, they elevated bilateral relations to an all-weather China-Cambodia community with a shared future in the new era. It's the first time China has upgraded ties with a Southeast Asian country to such a level.
And walking on the red carpet are President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, and his wife. President Mirziyoyev has been to China many times. Friendly cooperation between the two peoples has been vigorous under the Silk Road spirit. And last year, China and Uzbekistan established an all-weather comprehensive strategic partnership in the new era. And they have announced to advance the building of a China-Uzbekistan community with a shared future. President of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, Luong Nguyen. China and Vietnam share a long history. They are comrades and brothers. And the founding father of Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh, joined and supported the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression in places such as Yan'an, Guilin, Chongqing, and Kunming. This year is the 75th anniversary of their diplomatic ties. It's also the year of cultural exchanges between the two sides. And China and Vietnam have deepened their relations in recent years with frequent visits and contact between leaders of the two countries.
And now, Prime Minister of Nepal, KP Sharma Ali, and his wife. Connected by mountains and rivers, China and Nepal have a long history of friendly exchanges. This year is the 70th anniversary of their diplomatic ties. The two countries have seen healthy and stable development in bilateral relations and strengthened political trust. China and Nepal have also expanded cooperation in various fields and under the Belt and Road Initiative. In 2019, their relations were upgraded to a strategic partnership of cooperation featuring everlasting friendship for development and prosperity. And this partnership continues to deepen.
And again, CGTN is bringing you live pictures from the heart of Beijing, the Duanmen Gate, which is to the north of the Forbidden City.
On the red carpet now, President of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. China and Kazakhstan relations have been tested by changes and challenges, but they always remain at a high level. China and Kazakhstan raised bilateral ties to a permanent, comprehensive strategic partnership in 2019. In 2022, they pledged to build a community with a shared future defined by lasting friendship, a high degree of mutual trust, and sharing weal and woe. In June, Chinese President Xi Jinping was in Kazakhstan for the second China-Central Asia Summit. There, the leaders agreed to forge a China-Central Asia spirit of mutual respect, mutual trust, mutual benefit, and mutual assistance for the joint pursuit of modernization through high-quality development. The two countries have achieved milestones in educational, cultural, scientific, and technological cooperation. The two countries have 26 pairs of sister provinces and cities. Beijing and Astana, their capitals, are sister cities. Next is the General Secretary of the Workers' Party of Korea, and President of the State Affairs of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Kim Jong-un. China and the DPRK established diplomatic ties on October 6, 1949. The DPRK was one of the first to establish ties with the People's Republic of China. Linked by mountains and waters, China and the DPRK are friendly neighbors. This year also marks the 80th anniversary of Korea's liberation. The two peoples supported each other in hard times and through war. They jointly fought against Japanese aggression and made significant contributions to the World Anti-Fascist War and the cause of justice of humanity. The traditional friendship between the two countries was cemented by the old generations of their leaders. Their friendship, also forged in bloody and fiery revolutions, has developed in the process of their socialist construction and is priceless. In recent years, General Secretary Xi Jinping and General Secretary Kim Jong-un have maintained communication through various means. They lead and guide bilateral ties into a new historical phase.
At the invitation of Chinese President Xi Jinping, dozens of heads of state and government will attend today's commemoration in Beijing. On September 3rd, China marks its V-Day, and this is the 80th anniversary of the victory in the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War.
Again, another look at the Duanmen Gate just north of the Tiananmen rostrum. The red carpet has rolled out to welcome the arrival of international dignitaries. We've been tracking the arrival of heads of state and government for you right here on CGTN. One by one, their motorcades pulled up, and the leaders arrive for the commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War.
A commemoration ceremony and a grand military parade are going to take place on Tiananmen Square and along Chang'an Avenue in less than an hour. We have different teams of reporters covering this event for us.
Obviously, the military parade will be the highlight of the day and the highlight of the commemoration. We do understand that new armaments and equipment will be shown in that military parade. They are domestically made, and also they are all active combat gear. And at this moment, the Tiananmen Square is decorated and ready for the commemoration.
Troops and armaments, as we speak, are lining up along Chang'an Avenue. They're ready for the inspection of the Commander-in-Chief. Motorcades carrying heads of state, international dignitaries are arriving here at the Duan Gate. On the red carpet right now is President Prabowo Subianto of the Republic of Indonesia. He arrived early this morning, and China welcomes his arrival. He's here at the invitation of Chinese President Xi Jinping. Now, under the strategic guidance of the two heads of state, China and Indonesia have opened a new chapter of jointly building a community with a shared future. During World War II, Chinese people living in Indonesia donated money and supplies. Many of them returned to China to join the resistance and became heroes. Renowned Chinese writer and anti-fascist intellectual Yu Dafu traveled to Southeast Asia to join the resistance. And he was killed in Sumatra, Indonesia. He wrote, "Our generation should sacrifice for the war of resistance." President Prabowo made a state visit to China soon after his presidential inauguration in 2024. China and Indonesia are traditional friends and neighbors. And it was in this year that China and Indonesia embarked on a new chapter of bilateral ties by building a community with a shared future.
International dignitaries are continuing to arrive at Duanmen Gate, just north of the Tiananmen rostrum in the heart of the Chinese capital. There, a red carpet has been rolled out in honor of the visiting dignitaries. They are heads of state and government who will be participate in the commemoration today of the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War. Later on, a military parade will take place on the Chang'an Avenue an east-to-west major thoroughfare cutting right through the heart of the Chinese capital, Beijing. CGTN will have full coverage of the commemoration today. Make sure you do stay with us right here on CGTN. We've been tracking the arrival of international dignitaries right here on CGTN for you. They're now arriving at the Duanmen Gate just north of the Tiananmen rostrum. A red carpet has been rolled out for them.
That's right. And the Duanmen Gate is where this reception is taking place. And we're seeing another limousine. President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin. Putin has been to China many times since 2013, either for state visits or international conferences. Relations between China and Russia are at their historical best. Their ties are characterized by long-term friendly good neighborliness and mutually beneficial win-win cooperation. In the new era, China-Russia relations are more self-confident, firm, and resilient. From May 7th to 10th, President Xi Jinping made a state visit to Russia and attended commemorations in Moscow of the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Soviet Union's Great Patriotic War. In World War II, China was the main battlefield in Asia, and the Soviet Union was the main battlefield in Europe. They were central to resistance and combat against Japanese militarism and Nazi Germany. They made decisive contributions to the victory in the World Anti-Fascist War. China and Russia are expanding mutually beneficial cooperation in all aspects. Bilateral trade has reached a high of over $244 billion last year. And China and Russia have active cultural exchanges and close cooperation at local levels. They have 168 pairs of sister provinces and cities, and there are also dozens of provincial-level economic partnerships.
Remembering history, honoring the fallen heroes, cherishing peace, and creating a better future. And this is our special program commemorating the 80th anniversary of the victory in the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War. International dignitaries have now arrived and are meeting the Chinese president and his wife.
As we're watching right now, Chinese President Xi Jinping and Madame Peng Liyuan are welcoming international dignitaries at the south square of Duanmen Gate.
These are heads of international organizations that are walking down the red carpet to be received by the Chinese president and his wife.
That's right. And a decade ago, on September 3rd, it was also here where Chinese President Xi Jinping and his wife, Madame Peng Liyuan, welcomed international guests to the commemoration of the 70th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War. Many of the guests attending the commemoration today previously attended the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Tianjin, which concluded just a few days ago.
That's right, and President Xi says the SCO is a proactive force for world peace and development. It is the first grouping to put forth the vision of global governance, featuring extensive consultation and joint contribution for shared benefit as an effort to practice true multilateralism. He also said the SCO always stands on the side of international fairness and justice and champions inclusiveness and mutual learning between civilizations and opposes hegemonism and power politics.
And also at that Tianjin summit, President Xi proposed the Global Governance Initiative. He calls on members to adhere to sovereign equality, abide by international rule of law, practice multilateralism, advocate the people-centered approach, and focus on taking real actions.
The Chinese president and his wife greeting the international dignitaries that have arrived in Beijing for the commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War.
We're watching live pictures from the heart of Beijing, the Duanmen Gate to the north of the Forbidden City. Dozens of heads of state and leaders of international organizations are arriving on the red carpet. And in about half an hour, the commemoration ceremony will begin on Tiananmen Square. As part of this commemoration, a grand military parade will also take place. Troops and armaments are standing by ready along Chang'an Avenue as we speak. And it's early morning in Beijing. CGTN is broadcasting live to a global audience.
The president is saying to his guests, welcome, welcome.
And as these international guests are arriving, later on they will pose for a group photo.
And here's what we know about the commemoration that will happen later today. The Chinese president will deliver an important speech at the commemoration. And the commemoration includes a massive military parade, which is composed of two parts, the inspection of the troops and the march past, lasting approximately 70 minutes. The Chinese president and his wife welcoming guests arriving for the commemoration. And now they're walking towards a group photo where the arriving international dignitaries will take a group photo together with the Chinese president.
We are certainly marking a significant anniversary today on September 3rd. China is commemorating the 80th anniversary of the victory
This gathering today in commemoration of the victory also heralds a new beginning for all countries to work together to create a harmonious world and safeguard global peace.
Well, as you can see right there, front and center on this gate is the character Duan Men. The Chinese character Duan also conveys righteousness, which is consistent with the message of safeguarding international justice.
The leaders are now walking together towards the Tiananmen rostrum. It's a short walk from the Duanmen Gate we've been telling you about, which stands just north of the Tiananmen rostrum. to the rostrum itself.
And Joshi, you know, for many foreign leaders who have visited China before, the Tiananmen rostrum, or the Forbidden City, is a familiar sight. Many of them have been here before to the Forbidden City. However, this gathering here today holds a special significance.
Absolutely. The Tiananmen rostrum sits right in the heart of the Chinese capital, with viewing platforms that can overlook the Tiananmen Square. The leaders will be walking towards the rostrum. They will ascend to the viewing platform on the rostrum and view the military parade together.
Now, as they walk on the red carpet to make their way to the top of the Tiananmen rostrum, a little bit of background information about the structure. It was built as a ceremonial gate to the imperial city in the Ming Dynasty. It's witnessed the ties of Chinese history in the past 6 centuries.
And in 1937, Tiananmen Square witnessed the fall of Peking. In October 1945, Japanese invaders in North China officially surrendered at the square of the Hall of Supreme Harmony in the Forbidden City.
Today's commemoration is certainly a big national event, a military event as well, as troops and armaments are standing by ready for the inspection. It is also a significant diplomatic event, as heads of state, leaders of international organizations are convening here to review the commemoration and the parade.
The leaders are making full use of this time as they walk together to the Tiananmen rostrum, engaging in friendly chit-chat and conversations.
And today, the Tiananmen rostrum, steeped in the depths of history, will again witness new glory. It is a pretty long walk to ascend to the top of the Tiananmen rostrum.
Decades ago, World War II ended with over 100 million casualties among soldiers and civilians worldwide. Chinese casualties were more than 35 million. And today is about commemorating the victory in that war, in the Chinese people's war of resistance against Japanese aggression, as well as the World Anti-Fascist War. And now the leaders are arriving at that expansive viewing platform up on the Tiananmen rostrum.
And we understand that some of the veterans of the War of Resistance were given their own viewing spots on top of the Tiananmen rostrum. Crowds are welcoming China's top leader, as well as international dignitaries. We are seeing veterans sitting there, and President Xi Jinping and international dignitaries are shaking hands with a 99-year-old veteran, 100-year-old veteran from the 8th Route Army, 94-year-old veteran from the 8th Route Army, 102-year-old veteran from the new 8th Route Army, and from South China Guerrilla Force, 100-year-old veteran from the Kuomintang. And during the fight against the Japanese aggression, the Chinese people established a national united front to safeguard their homeland.
Obviously, the Chinese president was very pleased to see the veterans present up on the Tiananmen rostrum. He even introduced the veterans to his guests there, and shaking hands with the veterans, greeting them, welcoming them to this very important commemoration.
and the veterans represent the legacies of this long-fought war. And their spirit of resilience, of peace, of perseverance still echo on every inch of China's soil now.
It's certainly a very heartwarming scene there to have the veterans seated up on the Tiananmen rostrum. They are the real heroes and role models, and they motivate us to keep pushing forward. The victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression is a glory shared by the Chinese nation and also people worldwide who stand for justice. Professor Gao, Mr. Zhou, let's bring you in for this part. Obviously, the veterans are seated, out there on the Tiananmen rostrum so that they have an opportunity to participate in the commemoration today. What do you make of that arrangement, Professor Gao?
Well, I think this is really the right thing to do because they fought against the Japanese aggressors. They shed their blood, and they have always been honored by the People's Republic, by the Chinese people, and now they are in the center of this reviewing process of the parade to commemorate the 80th year anniversary of the victory against Japanese aggression. And I think we all hail them as the real heroes, defending China's sovereignty and territorial integrity and fighting off the Japanese aggressors.
Real heroes and real witnesses, not only to the atrocities of the war, but more importantly to the final victory. And we're so happy that they get to see the commemoration today. Mr. Zhou, your thoughts?
Well, I think I can't agree more with Victor Gao about the importance of having these veterans standing on Tiananmen Square. I think it's rare, It won't be easy for us to see these people right now because they're all very old people, but they're still alive, but they can still see how strong China is today, in which they have made their due and a great contribution. So I think that is indeed a great honor for them to be there and for us to see them there.
Now, many of these veterans fought under extremely harsh conditions: poverty, famine, the lack of military resources. What does their perseverance teach us about the spirits of, resilience and courage? And, besides honoring them in events like this, what more could we do, Professor Gao, to really weave their legacies more into everyday life?
I think these veterans 80 years ago, or more than 80 years ago, fought against Japanese aggressors not only as soldiers, but they were true representatives of the Chinese nation, true representative of the Chinese culture and the Chinese civilization. In their bodies, I can see the most splendid and the glorious part of the Chinese civilization. So they became the epitome of the Chinese nation. They became the epitome of the Chinese civilization. And by shedding blood for their own motherland, by fighting off foreign aggressors, they set an example for the future generation. So now we honor them as our national hero, and the younger generation draw inspiration from these veterans and learn lessons from them, and we become redoubled in our commitment to defending peace and defending China and defending the Chinese culture and ultimately the Chinese civilization.
Obviously we're commemorating this day. We're inviting veterans up on the Tiananmen rostrum to carry on the spirit of the war of resistance against the Japanese aggression. Mr. Zhou, how do we do that? How do we make sure that the spirit of perseverance, the spirit of never surrender, the spirit of defending your motherland lives on in today's world?
Well, these people are actually old soldiers, right? And old soldiers never die. So what they have left us are actually a litany of fine traditions. But if you look at the PLA today, you would find it so interesting to see that how small they were at that time and how ill-equipped they were at that time. But on the contrary, today, China is almost the opposite, right? China is having the largest armed force in the world, and in a moment we're going to see all the modern weaponry and combat platforms. But still, this kind of fine traditions are basically in the heart and in the blood of our modern-day soldiers, because that's really, really matter, for us, if you are going to another war. So you have to think of where you come from, right? And what kind of traditions are already placed in you. So these people basically are the very sources of a fine tradition.
How can remembering their sacrifices and contributions inspire values that are still relevant today? Professor Gao.
Well, I think they are the true Chinese nationals and our heroes. But allow me to mention, behind these veterans, I also see those who fell on the battleground, who really sacrificed their lives for the Chinese nation. So I think we not only see these veterans who are the true representative of those heroes fighting against Japanese aggressors, but they are also representatives of all the millions of the Chinese soldiers who shed their blood, who sacrificed their life, and they too become the national heroes for the current generation of the Chinese nation and the future generations. And I think by honoring them, we honor ourselves, we honor our national history and our Chinese civilization, and we honor peace. That is the most important thing.
You know, we talked about international solidarity towards ending the Second World War, and the international solidarity is also present today with the turnout of those international dignitaries that have arrived in Beijing. You're looking at live pictures of the Tiananmen Square that's fully decorated for the commemoration today. There are the year-marking installations that show the years 1945 and 2025. of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War will begin soon.
CGTN is broadcasting the commemoration live to global audiences. We're now watching live pictures from the Tiananmen Square. The commemoration is going to begin in just a moment.
纪念中国人民抗日战争暨世界反法西斯战争胜利80周年大会现在开始。请全体肃立，鸣礼炮。
下个参将准，完成。起步车。
升国旗，唱国歌。
敬礼！
请坐下。请中共中央总书记、中华人民共和国主席、中央军委主席习近平同志发表重要讲话。
全国同胞们，尊敬的各位国家元首、政府首脑和国际组织代表，尊敬的各位来宾，全体受阅将士们、同志们、朋友们，今天我们隆重集会，纪念中国人民抗日战争及世界反法西斯战争胜利80周年，共同铭记历史，缅怀先烈，珍爱和平，开创未来。我代表中共中央、全国人大、国务院、全国政协、中央军委，向全国参加过抗日战争的老战士、老同志、爱国人士和抗日将领，向为中国人民抗日战争胜利做出重大贡献的海内外中华儿女致以崇高敬意，向支援和帮助过中国人民抵抗侵略的外国政府和国际友人表示衷心感谢，向参加今天大会的各国来宾表示热烈欢迎。同志们、朋友们，中国人民抗日战争是艰苦卓绝的伟大战争。在中国共产党倡导建立的抗日民族统一战线旗帜下，中国人民以铮铮铁骨战强敌，以血肉之躯筑长城，取得近代以来反抗外敌入侵的第一次完全胜利。中国人民抗日战争是世界反法西斯战争的 重要组成部分。中国人民以巨大的民族牺牲，为拯救人类文明、保卫世界和平，做出了重大贡献。历史警示我们，人类命运休戚与共，各个国家、各个民族只有平等相待、和睦相处、守望相助，才能维护共同安全，消弭战争根源，不让历史悲剧重演。同志们、朋友们，中华民族是不畏强暴、自立自强的伟大民族。当年，面对正义与邪恶、光明与黑暗、进步与反动的生死较量，中国人民同仇敌忾，奋起反抗，为国家生存而战，为民族复兴而战，为人类正义而战。今天，人类又面临和平还是战争，对话还是对抗，共赢还是零和的抉择。中国人民坚定站在历史正确一边，站在人类文明进步一边，坚持走和平发展道路，与各国人民携手构建人类命运共同体。中国人民解放军始终是党和人民完全可以信赖的英雄部队，全军将士要忠实履行神圣职责，加快建设世界一流军队，坚决维护国家主权、统一、领土完整，为实现中华民族伟大复兴提供战略支撑，为世界和平与发展做出更大贡献。历史承载过去，也启迪未来。新时代新征程，全国各族人民要在中国共产党坚强领导下，坚持马克思列宁主义、毛泽东思想、邓小平理论、三个代表重要思想、科学发展观，全面贯彻新时代中国特色社会主义思想，坚定不移走中国特色社会主义道路，传承和弘扬伟大抗战精神，踔厉奋发，勇毅前行，为中国式现代化全面推进强国建设、民族复兴伟业而团结奋斗。中华民族伟大复兴势不可挡，人类和平与发展的崇高事业必将胜利。
阅兵开始。
标兵就位。 主席同志，受阅部队列队完毕，请您检阅阅兵总指挥韩盛言。
开始。
是。
同志们辛苦了！
为人民服务！基层方针，正！
同志们好！
主席好！基层方针，敬礼！
同志们辛苦了！
为人民服务！
同志们好！
主席好！
同志们辛苦了！
为人民好！
同志们好！
主席好！
同志们好！
主席好！
们辛苦了。同志们好。同志们辛苦了。为人民服务。同志们好。
放飞和平歌。纪念中国人民抗日战争暨世界反法西斯战争胜利80周年大会到此结束。